Hi, and God bless you. May today be a day when you realise that you are not alone, that Jesus is close to you. We've been talking about the resources God has given us so that we can successfully be His disciples. We've talked about the Holy Spirit, prayer, His Word. Today I want to talk to you about the church. I've heard some people say, I don't need anyone because I have Jesus. Sounds very spiritual, doesn't it? In a sense, I understand what they mean. In a sense, they are right. But in another, they couldn't be more wrong. Go back to the Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. And God, looking at Adam, says, "It is not good that he is alone." You see, we were made with some particular needs. We were made to work. Adam was put in the Garden of Eden to work it and to take care of it. That's what Genesis 2:15 says. That is why we can find pleasure in work. Some people, because of that, can become addicted to work. During the pandemic, I think people realised just how important their work was to them. And have you met someone who does not work? They're rarely happy. We were also made to have a relationship with God. I think the French mathematician Blaise Pascal was spot on when he said, "There is a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of each man, which cannot be satisfied by any created thing, but only by God the Creator, made known through Jesus Christ." Before you were a disciple of Jesus, you experienced that emptiness of that heart-shaped vacuum. You know what it felt like, and the fantastic change of now having a relationship with God. And we were also made to have a relationship with other human beings. And not just intimate relationships with our spouse, but friendship relationships with those around us. It's a shame that in Australia today, the statistics supplied by the research that Lifeline has done say that 1 in 4 Australians are lonely and don't have anyone to speak to when they go through a crisis in their life. You see, God did not make us to be hermits. He has not called us to be independent, but rather interdependent. Part of being a disciple is depending on each other, is being dependable for each other. I was once going through a terrible time in my life, and I remember that I was reading a story in my devotions. I think I was using the daily bread notes that I spoke of earlier. It told of a little girl that was upset in the night because of a bad dream. She kept calling for her daddy, and after the third time of getting up to her, he tried to comfort her by telling her that Jesus was always with her. She replied to her daddy, "I know that, but sometimes I need someone with skin on." I remember praying that prayer to God. "Please God, I just need someone with skin on." God answered my prayer when a Christian friend from my church called me and asked to have breakfast with me at McDonald's. I remember ultimately crying over a bacon and egg McMuffin as I shared my heartache with that man. That man, that friend, that fellow disciple was Jesus with skin on for me at that time. God knows we need friends. We need Jesus with skin on. We need other people to love us and to care for us. He knows that. He knows that it's not good for us to be alone. And that is why Jesus has given us the church to help us be His disciples. When we become a disciple of Jesus, we become part of the church, part of God's family here on earth. So what does the Bible say the role of the church is? Well, I'm going to run through a number of Bible verses, so hold on to your seats and onto your hats. In Hebrews chapter 10, verses 23 to 25, we are told, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. So in that verse we are told that we are to spur one another on toward love and good deeds and encourage one another. In Galatians chapter 6 verse 10, we are told to do good to those who belong to the family of believers. In Galatians chapter 5 verse 13, we are told to serve one another humbly in love. In Galatians chapter 6 verse 2, we are told to carry each other's burdens. In Romans chapter 15 verse 7, we're told to accept one another. In Ephesians chapter 4 verse 32, we're told to be kind and compassionate, forgiving each other. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 18, we are told we should be encouraging one another and building each other up. In Acts chapter 2 verse 42, we read of the first church where they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship and to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Paul in 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 2 tells Timothy with regard to the people in his church to preach the word, be ready in season and out of season, reprove, rebuke and exhort with complete patience. Well, it sounds like a great place to be, yes? Remember Jesus' new commandment? A new commandment I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. That's in John chapter 13, verses 34 to 35. The church is a place where we can go to love one another. Now you might be thinking, sounds great, but I'm not sure that is what my church looks like. A lot of people have a lot of criticism for the established church, and a lot of their criticism is right. The church often makes mistakes. It often fails people. It often makes poor decisions. Sometimes it goes into error, and worse, it is often characterized as being unloving and full of hypocrites. So what's going on with the church? Well, I've run out of time, but join me in the next video as we continue to talk about the church and why, even with all its flaws, Jesus wants you to be part of it. Let me know your experience with church. Is it a place where you feel nurtured? Is it a place where you have found love and support and acceptance and forgiveness? Tell me your prayer requests and thanks for continuing with me on this discipleship journey. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. God bless.